Say that. Hey, you know, it's a great day out there. Great day for contrails, which is not always the case.
That's right. Jet contrails today. I have some interesting photos from one of our viewers. This is Teresa from out in the Heartland area. Many of you have seen contrails. They're very common. They happen quite a bit. But there's a lot of controversy about contrails.
Tonight, a community in the San Bernardino Mountains has a real mystery on its hands. The official explanation here is that jet contrails are causing strange lines in the sky and that it's pollen making people sick on the ground. But others are convinced it is something else, and they ask, is the government experimenting with our weather?
PG&E uses what are basically big propane gas flares in the mountains. But others use different methods, including airplanes to scatter tiny particles of silver iodide to seed clouds.
New information tonight about a mysterious condition called Morgellons that's affecting more than 100 people in South Texas.
Since 5 first brought you the story in May of this bizarre disease that makes people's skin crawl, nobody knows how you get it, really. Now the Centers for Disease Control in Atlanta is launching a study that could target Texas. Tonight, Eyewitness News anchor Deborah Knapp travels to Ground Zero in Nevada to uncover the truth about Morgellons.
Some black specks came out of my hand and came out of my arm.
And within 2 years, at age 29, he was out of baseball.
Twitching. Just uncontrollable muscle twitches for months at a time through the night. I mean, and that's just weird.
They say out of slow-healing skin lesions will come bizarre filaments, especially after bathing.
That's when it would just really just ooze, literally ooze out of my skin.
There's no reasonable explanation for it. I know I'm not seeing things, I'm watching it happen. I mean, we're pretty sane people.
They've seen several doctors. Everybody's told them they're crazy. It's in their head. They're delusional.
More now on a Channel 4 News investigation, an exclusive we first told you about a few months ago concerning some strange clouds in the skies over Southern California. Some say they are simply jet contrails, but others claim it's the government creating chemical clouds to combat global warming. And tonight, one woman says the government's own data shows the chemicals are showing up in our drinking water.
What causes a false return? Do you know?
Ground clutter, sometimes mountain peaks, the reflectivity, sometimes the military chaff that they put in the sky will create all kinds of ground clutter. I could tell you ground clutter stories, but I won't get into it to bore you.
We'll save that for a special night.
It sounds like something out of a horror movie. Painful lesions and scars that cover the body.
They typically describe disturbing skin sensations such as itching or stinging or pins and needles.
The mystery illness is called Morgellons, and some patients claim it causes tiny fibers to pop out of their skin.
Spiller is not alone. The sores come up and then these fuzzy things come out. It's almost like spores or, you know, something like that.
Lesions and scars cover Stephanie Bailey's arms and legs. Travis Wilson is a victim too. Just ask his mom.
Feeling like bugs are crawling all over you, there's no way you can sleep. You know, it's too freaky. So he would go days and days and days without sleep.
Randy Wymore is not a medical doctor, but he is a scientist at Oklahoma State University. He started out as a skeptic too, but years ago, after taking a closer look at the fibers, he changed his mind.
These are high-level clouds coming across West Texas and opens high-thin wispy clouds that help to make the jet contrails in the sky and see those crisscrossing in the sky during the day tomorrow. I have a picture here. Here is a picture that's from Greece.
Last weather segment. This is inevitably military or something going on. The government, the Air Force, they send out what's known as chaff, and it's a way to experiment with the radar systems. And when you see this kind of a pattern like this, you can rest assured there's something going on. They're actually little bitty magnetic and little bitty strips of, whether it's aluminum, you know, they change it, but what happens is the radar deflects off of all these little pieces, and they use it actually as a jamming mechanism for radar in warfare, but it can also jam our radar.
Right now, many doctors aren't even sure that Morgellons exists, and research is still in the very early stages. In fact, the CDC just announced it's sponsoring the first major U.S. study about the condition.
Calling for a global environmental Manhattan Project that would be as big as the Manhattan Project and as secret as the Manhattan Project to pull off a global spraying program to release these aerosols into the very top of the atmosphere. Now, one of the aspects of this, and this goes back to that earlier conversation we were having about how long it takes for something to reach the ground, is that Lawrence Livermore's numbers on this thing said that if they released them at normal cruising altitude, that if they mixed these shiny dust with say jet fuel and ran it out of the jet fuel,
doing let's say 400 or 500 miles an hour, right?
Right. Or put spraying devices on commercial jets and had the jet spray when they were at flight altitude. If they were to do that, it would take a minimum of 3 months if they to reach the ground. And if they did it at the optimum level, which is high in the stratosphere at about the same level that the ozone layer is, well above normal flight cruise levels, it would take 2 or 3 years for these to reach the ground. Now, a number of scientific bodies looked at this geoengineering scheme and went, wait a minute. If you inject the dust too low in the atmosphere, such as at normal flight altitudes, instead of reflecting back solar energy, it would actually reflect back ground heat. And instead of mitigating global warming, it would exacerbate global warming. Now, this leads us to some very interesting questions, and I mentioned them briefly in the book because the book is not a book of conspiracy theories, or rather, it's not a book of my conspiracy theories. You know, what I did in the book is I tried to round up every conspiracy theory about weather warfare out there on the internet, and then put what I could prove, and I debunk a few and prove many. Now, but the book is 400 pages of what I can prove, so there was a lot of things that got left out. And one of the things that I could prove was that the many scientific organizations said you could not run it out of commercial jet aircraft, that it would simply be at too low a level and would exacerbate global warming. Now, this made me speculate, and I speculated for a paragraph or two. Could it be that they really have managed to con the world into thinking they need to be saved from global warming, and have really got every jet aircraft in the world running this stuff, which would explain why persistent contrails persist and are really chemtrails? But they know they're doing it too low, and they're really exacerbating global warming, and they're doing this to jack up the heat as a pretext to create a global government to save us from global warming, which they're creating in the first place.
That may be even too conspiratorial for me, Jerry.
Right. I don't think that's the case. I really don't think it's the case, but it's an interesting speculation. I thought I couldn't pass that up. So what I think, like, again, we began this conversation about why I don't think commercial jet aircraft are involved. One, the science says if they are involved, they're injecting it too low and it's going to do more harm than good. Two, we live in the most litigious age in human history. I cannot imagine United Airlines intentionally, knowingly spraying toxic chemicals on their customers. It's just beyond belief. And knowing that if their customers find out about it, they'll sue them out of existence. The only way that commercial airlines, particularly American commercial airlines, Delta, American, United, etc., would be involved in this is either A, Congress passed a law exempting them from any tort, making them immune to being sued, and we know Congress has not passed such a law.
Right.
Or the President of the United States declares a national emergency and nationalizes the airlines and then orders them to do it. And
which hasn't happened either.
It certainly doesn't seem to have happened. So the likelihood is that commercial airliners are not doing it. Now, it may well be being done by an independent fleet. And if it is being done, it's being done at above flight level. So what we have here is persistent contrails are a literal smokescreen that they are hiding this operation behind. Or rather above.
But you've seen the tic-tac-toes, haven't you?